I'm a recent graduate of Georgetown University, but that isn't how I always envisioned my life. And I don't know how many of you can attest to actually experiencing homelessness, but I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, Southeast, and my family was homeless, and we grew up, and we lived in the D.C. General Shelter. And what I want to say is that it's important for people to know that homelessness isn't just about finding stability. Homelessness is about conforming a lifestyle, and it alters who you are and who you think you want to be. And the most important part of it is the mental health and the well-being of the person. And most of my life struggling with my family before even being in the DC General Shelter, we lived in like abandoned homes, and we lived on the street, and we lived from couch to couch, and my mom tried to scoundrel up as much money as possible for us to stay in hotels. And you have to think about the fact that some of these children who are facing homelessness do things to they have to step into adult roles and take on that responsibility. There are people who I know, who I went to school with, who I lived in the shelter with. Children is at the age of 13 through 18, prostituting, selling drugs, raising crime rates. And it's not because it's something that, hey, this is what we like to indulge in. It's the point of trying to survive when we don't have any other options. And so I want you guys to see me today as saying that for the resources that I've received from my city and from the help of my mayor, that when you invest in us and you invest in one of the biggest health disparities in the country, that you're helping to change someone's life. You're helping to conform somebody's mind to know that they are somebody, that, you know, they're worth something. Sometimes we're seen as subhuman. Sometimes we're not valued. Sometimes we mean nothing to people. And this is the mentality that we continue to take on, and it recycles generations and generations of homelessness and people not being able to receive their education, not being able to afford the ability that everyone else in the country has. And so I want you all to really think about taking on this challenge and investing and thinking about changing somebody's lives and thinking about if you were in their shoes and how could you really help. I don't think that if I didn't have the help that I did, that I would be here and I would know that I was worth something and that I was able to be something. And as recently stated, I just graduated from Georgetown. I'll be heading into law school next year. And thank you. I know this wouldn't be possible without help. And so for each person in the room, just try to help and contribute as much as possible and as much as you can, because every little bit of help makes a difference. And we really appreciate it. And now I would like to turn over the mic to a woman who charged her administration to really focus and help the homeless population, which, I mean, I don't even know how to express it in words, how much we thank you. But I'm Mayor Muriel.
Wow. I'm compelled to be brief after those remarks, because Rashima really put the fine point on why we are here today. And as you will know when you meet Rashima and when you meet other wonderful Washingtonians, because people are experiencing homelessness does not mean that they are defective people, does it? And too often our society, as Rashima said, put people in a category of being different, of being other, of being less than, of being not worthy, of being nuisances, being misfits, and not being our neighbor. And that is exactly a mindset that we have been tackling in the days that we set a very big goal to end homelessness in our city. Let me acknowledge my team that Rashima acknowledged, because I did indeed give them a big task. But they give me even bigger ideas, and that is why we have been successful, and with your help, we will continue to be successful in our city. So let me acknowledge Christy Greenwald, who is the Executive Director of the ICH in Washington, D.C., Laura Zeilinger, who is the Director of the Department of Human Services, Polly Donaldson, who is the Director of DHCD, and Wayne Turnage, who's the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, DMHHS. And I also want to thank the entire team here at the Community Foundation for their leadership and commitment to working with us in DC government to end homelessness in our city. We know that for many of our neighbors experiencing homelessness, some have complex medical conditions, are frequent users of our Health and Human Services, and our entire team, our Health and Human Services team, who I've just introduced, are focused on stable housing because we know that allows our residents to take care of everything else in their lives, from education to finding good, sustainable employment, and for taking care of their health. When I took office in 2015, I had a number of 90-day goals, things that we knew we needed to get done quickly if we were going to make real progress in my first term. In developing these goals, I charged the ICH with putting together a strategic plan to guide our way out of what was, at the time, a rapidly escalating homelessness crisis in our city. And just 3 months into our first year in office, with Christy's leadership and the outstanding commission, the Homeward DC plan was released, and then we got to work funding it. 3 years into our full implementation, our city is headed in the right direction. Just last month, we released the results of our 2019 point-in-time count. What we saw was that between 2016 and 2019 is that we have been able to drive down overall homelessness in the city by 22%, driven by a nearly 45% reduction in family homelessness. Within our family system, we have scaled prevention services. We made good on our promise to close DC General and replace it with smaller, service-enriched, short-term family housing across all 8 wards of Washington, D.C. And most importantly, we have made sure that for every single family entering shelter, we have the assistance and resources in place to move them back out into housing of their own. So within our system that serves single adults, we began our efforts with a focus on residents experiencing chronic homelessness, our neighbors with the longest histories of homelessness, the most significant conditions, and the most intense barriers to getting housed. So today, we are also proud that over 5,000 single adults have exited the streets or shelters to permanent housing over the last 4 years. And between 2018 and 2019, we saw a 13% reduction in chronic homelessness as well. The number of people experiencing chronic homelessness in the district is lower today than it has been in 15 years. So that's good news. Our system is working better to target resources to those who need them the most. But we are all also focused on warning signs too. And we would be foolish not to pay very close attention and act. Despite this infusion of new housing resources and despite our reductions in chronic homelessness, the number of single adults touching our homeless services system has grown each year. Income inequality continues to intensify. No longer is simply having a job enough to protect a person or a family against homelessness. and our single adult population is aging. Seniors and persons with disabilities are entering our shelters at alarming rates. So we know we must do more, and we must do it faster, and that's exactly why we're here today. We're going to need thousands of units of new housing in the years ahead. In fact, we in the district have set a very specific goal. We need 36,000 new units by 2025. And especially when it comes to deeply affordable and supportive housing, the government will always have a central role to play, but we can't do it alone. Similar to our approach to closing DC General and asking every part of the city to be a part of the solution, we will ask every part of the city to be a part of our 36,000 unit goal. We will explore flexible funding, gap financing, data, and tech support to enhance our ability to build these units. We are at a critical moment in time. Within DC government, we have reworked policies, stood up new programs, and grown our internal capacity. We are ready to do more, and we must do more, but we need your support as well. The government can do a lot. I say that frequently. And in fact, all of the investments I just described are in our homeless services system. We have made similar dramatic improvements to our system and investments on the affordable housing side so that we're producing more units. We also, on the government side, can't take our foot off the gas in funding how we produce and preserve units in the district. We also think that we have become better partners to the private sector. And you know, and you can count on how we're going to get involved in the financing of affordable housing from year to year, the amounts of money that will be available from year to year, and you can count on us being out in front to make sure that we can get these projects done. So I'd ask you to do it for me, but we're going to do it for Rashima and for Washingtonians who deserve a fair shot in our city. We are living in many ways in the best of times in Washington. Look around you. But in other ways, we're living in the most challenging times where people who have good jobs are getting further ahead of people who just want a chance. So with that, count on us to be just as bold or even bolder this go around to get things done in building housing and make sure people are living safe, happy, prosperous lives. Thank you.